Hello everyone, welcome to part 5 of our Datagrid series. In this part, we are going to dig a little deeper into our custom data grid, which we created in last part 4 of our Datagrid series. Alright, before we begin, I'd like to actually point out something. In our first data grid, these properties here, almost all of them, they apply to custom data grid as well. Okay, just want to throw this out there so that everybody's aware of it. That being said, I'd like to run this and see where we left off. Okay, so we added quite a few custom columns to our data grid that we built ground up, and the behavior is pretty much the same as the first data grid, which means the default mode, it's like kind of read only, and when you double click on a cell, you get into edit mode. Okay, this is going to become relevant soon. That's why I'm pointing this out. So let me close this and continue. So far we have seen all this type of data grid columns. So we have data grid text column, data grid checkbox column, data grid combo box column, and data grid hyperlink column, right? There is one more left that we haven't talked about yet. And this guy comes in when these uh, these columns um, doesn't meet your needs, right? If you want to even further customize it, then this guy called data grid template column comes in. With this guy, you can do pretty much anything you want. It's kind of wild card. Right, so let's go ahead and create one. Let's say, in addition to the ID, I'd like to have a dot or a circle in front of the numbers, right? So I can easily do that with data grid template column. So I'm going to, after opening and closing my data grid template column tags, I'm going to add a cell template, data grid template column cell template, open close that, and inside here I'm going to add a data template. Okay, and here I can pretty much do anything. Let's add a wrap panel. Okay, inside my wrap panel I can have a bunch of stuff, but for now I'm just going to have an ellipse. I'm going to get a height of um, let's go with 7, a width of 7, fill of red, and I want to give it a margin too. Margin. I want to give it 5 points from left and right, and then 0 up and top and bottom, and close this out. Now we got our nice little circle there, and then right next to it I want to have a text block and bind the text to the ID property. Okay, now I have within the same column I have the circle, a red circle, and then the ID. I can actually name this column. Let me go ahead and give this a name. A header. So just like this first one, I can say ID, yada yada, and then we'll have the values and additional circle. Now I can comment this original one out and keep my template column. Okay, now if I run this, so now we got a completely different look of ID column with addition of that red little circle. Okay, so here we are going to notice something. So this rest of the columns, you can still go into edit mode, but with this one, we can't, because when we use a Datagrid template column, we have to set the modes manually. So right now we have only the read part of it, which is for viewing. We don't have the edit part yet. And we are going to do that on a different column. I want to use that two modes on this column here. So I'm going to comment this out and instead create a new, oops, didn't mean to delete it, just want to comment this out. I'm going to create a new Datagrid template column. Okay, and let's add a cell template first. So for reading, we can keep the same as before, like use the text. Okay, so we are going to use text block for the viewing part of it. Let's add a data template. Let's see. Here, I'm just going to say text block. I'm going to say text is bound to release year, and let's format this year as YYYY. All right, I think if we go back here, we still have that. Great. I should have scrolled earlier so we can see in action, but that's fine. You're just getting started anyway. All right, so we got the viewing part. Let's run this. You're missing the header, so we're going to add a header too. So if I double click, nothing happens. I'm not going into edit mode, whereas the others, they go in edit mode, okay? All right, so let's give it a header too, just like before. Let's call this here. Okay, so now we have this part done, the read mode or viewing mode. And then to get to the editing mode, we need cell editing template. So Datagrid template column dot cell editing template. So this is going to be the editing part. All right, just like before, we're going to need data template. And in here, instead of a text box, I'm going to actually use a date picker. Okay. And I'm going to set the selected date to binding release year. Okay, let's close this out and let's run this and see what happens. If we did it right, when we double click on the cell, we should have the date picker. Let me scroll to the right. Okay, and now here we go. So we got the date picker popping up as we double click it. Okay. All right, so and for this guy here, if you want to edit, I mean, normally I would say for ID, I would keep it as text block, but if you want to have the editing mode for that, or you want to use the template column for any of the other columns, you could just go ahead and add an editing mode as well. So Datagrid cell Datagrid that column, Datagrid template column, that's cell editing mode, cell editing template. Jesus, what's going on? All right, so data template, and we can, instead of text block this time, we're going to use text box. And this is going to be the editing mode. Text also bound to ID. Okay, so that should take care of the editing mode. To run this again. Now, if I double click on this, I'll have the text box show up instead of text default text block. Okay, so we get, now we can edit this column as well. All right, so that's data grid template column. Okay, it's pretty powerful. You can do anything you want with it. All right, so let's see what else we're going to cover. All right, I think we are done. Just kidding. There's still a way to go. All right, so let's talk about something called role details. So role details is kind of master detail. It reminds you of master detail displaying. You know what? Instead of talking about it, let's start digging into it. So for this example, I'm going to bring in some more data. And that is, I added a little more to the end of the this CSV file. So I just added some of them, not all of them. I just added the like the actors or actresses for the movies. A little more information. So we're going to bring that information in as well and take it from there. Okay. So let's go back to our CS class main code behind file, and let's create another class. So public class, let's call this artist. We already have a property here, but that's fine. That's just a property. This is a class, so it's going to only have one property, and that's going to be a string. And let's say name. That's all. Okay, that's going to get us the name of the artist or actress, actor, whatever you want to call it. All right, so I'm gonna add a new property to the song class as well. So prop is going to be type of list artist, and let's call this artists. Okay. All right. Now that we have our class and properties, let's get the information. I'm gonna go over, let's see, over here, right above this object creation of the song. I'm gonna hit enter. First, I'm gonna create a list of artists. Let's call this artists equals new list of artists, and leave it there. Next, I'm going to create a if statement. If, so let's check our CVS file. So let's check the index of these data. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So position 6 and 7 will get the data we are looking for. So if line.length greater than 6, then actually length, yeah, I think so. I'll find out. All right, so when that condition is true, I want to create a for loop for j. Let's say j because we already used I here. Can't reuse it. And I'm going to say line dot length over here. Okay. All right, so while this condition is true, we want to loop through the data. Actually, we want to start with index of 6 here. We're looking for the index of 6 and 7, right? Let's check again. 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yep. Okay. So we'll grab the first index, which is 6, and then create an object of artist equals new artist. And then we'll say name equals line and pass in the j. I think that's it. And then actually add the artist to our list of artists. So artists dot add artist. Okay. Let's see if that's. Let's run this, and let's actually put a breakpoint right here, and then run this one. See what happens. All right. So line length is 8. Let's see. So position 6, Brad Pitt, 17 of 8, da da da. That's good. All right, that's good. That's good. That's good. I think we got it. All right, so we're getting the information. Okay. All right, so once we get that, now we gotta add actually to our song here, where we are collecting the song data. We're going to add another property, another element, which is artists equals, and we'll just pass this artist variable here. And say equals artists. Nope. Okay. Can't use semicolon there. So that's it. Okay. All right. So we got that. Now, let's go to the fun part. Now I'm going to go down below here, right where our data grid columns end. I'm going to hit enter and open a data grid dot row details. That's what I'm looking for. Row details template. Okay. So this is going to be the details section. Let's say I want to display the name of the movie and the artists in that movie as details to the row. Okay. So data template, I'm going to add the data template, of course. And within our data template, we can add anything we want to. So first, I can say, well, actually, wonder if I should use a doc panel or go with a grid. Let's go with stack panel. All right, so stack panel. I'm gonna give this a margin of say 15 from left to right, from left and right, and then 0 from top and bottom. Okay, and close the tag. So in here, I want to add a text block, which is going to be bound to our movie title. And then I'm going to add another data grid here. And this guy will be bound to the artists. Okay. All right. So let's run this and see what happens. So if we did it right, when I click one of these rows, I should get a row details. And sure enough, we have our row details with our text block displaying the title of the movie and a data grid that contains the artists. Maybe we should get rid of the header too. Let's do that as well, because I don't think we need that for this part. So my data grid is right here. So header visibility, let's change it to none and run this again. I don't think we need the header there. All right, so if I click on my row, I got my details with the data grid and all that good stuff. So if I scroll down to my rows, it will display where the data is available. All right, awesome. Okay, now let's see. While we're here, let's talk about another property, which we didn't talk about because we didn't get to this point yet. So now that we got the master detail covered, let's so right now if I scroll, you can see everything scrolls left to right, right to left, I mean top to bottom. So the property I'm looking for is it's going to be in our main data grid, and it's something called row details frozen. No, okay, hit this one. Our row details frozen, and we'll change this to true and see what happens. All right, so I'm gonna run it again. Now watch out for horizontal scrolling. I'm gonna first select that row, have the row details displayed, and then I'm going to scroll to right and left, right and left. Now watch out for this guy, it's not moving. Okay, so that's our row details frozen property and what it does. Okay, I think that'll be all for now. In the next one, we're going to continue. Okay? All right, thanks for tuning in. Until the next one, take it easy. See ya.